Okay, can I start?
Please go ahead, Shivram.
Okay. Very good evening, dear respected members, panelists, students, and viewers. Everyone with their families are safe and healthy. Warm welcome to all for today's panel discussion on managing through crisis with eminent and experienced professionals. Hearty welcome to our panelists, Mr. B. Venkatramana, Group President, Landmark Group, India, Mr. Naresh Kumar Pinisetti, President, Deepak Fertilizer and Petrochemicals Corporation Limited, Mr. Hari Govind Tilak, Senior HR Director, LM India, a GE Renewable Company, and our moderator, Mr. Vijay Kumar Rangaraju, Senior VP HR, Intellect Design Arena Limited. And on behalf of ISTD Chennai chapter, I thank them for their valuable time to spare in our panel discussion. And also I thank Mr. Ram, Talent OZ, for his, we are hosting today webinar through them. And a request, I wanted to tell this, the webinar we started online and also the Facebook, streaming and on Facebook. The topic is up for the present scenario, COVID-19 crisis, lockdown, and protecting human lives from deadly coronavirus. The situation is likely to be continued for a few more months or up to September 2020 or emergence of vaccine. But post COVID-19, you can see new world order and new era of industrialization business. New business models will emerge. New thinking and operations are likely to be emerged. Problems and crisis due to coronavirus in India and world over. Lockdown, standstill of operations of industry and business. Reduction of GDP to 1.6, and economy backlash and cash crunch, cash flows. Payment of wages, salaries to employees, statutory compliance like PF, ESI, GST, power, etc. Urging employees, engaging employees and their health. HR has a major role to play. And migrant workers is a big problem at this point of time. And another one is unemployment. Then you have opportunities and challenges during COVID-19. Implementation of global village work from home already we have started, and this is going to continue. New technologies and skills demand. Using technology online webinar for L&D programs and certification courses. And another important one, digital transformation, automation, robots, cobots, AI, drones, machine learning, data analytics, blockchain technology, and Industry 5.0 year 2020, which I've said earlier in my earlier Foundation Day speech. So this is not 4.0, it will be 5.0. And due to lack of lockdown, air and water pollution levels have come down drastically and oxygen levels have gone up. So there is an emergence of new environment technologies is going to be there to adopt online L&D programs in future without classrooms and hotel halls. Even education system will have many changes. So in the future will be lean, mean, and fit concept will emerge. With these few observations, I leave it to the panel to discuss for 1 hour 15 minutes, in 10 minutes for question answers, and finally conclusion and takeaways from the panel discussion. Thank you. Over to panel, Mr. Vijay Kumar Rangarajan.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Shriram Prasad. Thanks to ISTD Chennai chapter for giving us this opportunity on behalf of both myself, Venkat Ramana, Naresh Kumar Panisetti, and Mr. Tilak. We thank everyone for having joined this call in the evening. We see more than 60 participants there, and I'm sure a lot more people are also watching it live on Facebook. Thank you for Talentos for giving us this platform so that we can reach out to a lot of people through this platform. I think this is one of the first times that I'm seeing at least the Chennai chapter of ISTD getting into online platform for such kind of discussions. This is something that we've been talking for long, but this is one good thing that COVID has done to us. It's not a good thing, but as such, COVID as such, but it is this for us. Today, the topic of the day is managing through crisis. If at all there is something that's being spoken of today, it is about this crisis around COVID, and this is possibly the only thing that everybody is talking about. And it is also something about which we don't know about, right? We are right in the middle of this crisis, or right in the middle of the storm. If you think of it as a storm, we are in the middle of the storm. We don't know what is the extent of damage it is causing around us. We are possibly in what you call as eye of the storm. We don't even know what is happening around us. And when we get out of the storm, we don't know when we are going to get out of the storm. And when we get out, how it is going to be. We have no clue at all. So all of us are trying to figure out and give meaning to whatever is happening around us. We are trying to figure out what is happening. This is something that the world has never seen before. Hence, it makes it very, very important for us as professionals to come together, put our heads together and try to understand what is happening and to see how we as professionals will need to respond to the crisis that we are seeing around us. That is assuming that there is a crisis. Okay. Before we start on to discuss, dialogue and debate about several things surrounding this crisis, let me request the people in the call to please, one, if you're not a speaker, switch off your video. And please mute. If you don't know how to mute, if you were to scroll down, mouse over on your screen on the left side, you will find the mic picture. You please click it and then you go on mute. Govind Rajulu sir, I'm seeing you continually on unmute. So if you can mute as well, please. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. So that way we can ensure that everybody is listening in and we don't see any disturbances. So the first question I want to pose here to our panelists, we have Venkat Ramana. Maybe I will pose this question first to you, Venkatramana. Maybe when you start talking, introduce yourself and talk. Let me also introduce myself. My name is Vijay Kumar. I take care of human resources for this company called Intellect Design Arena Limited. Right. This is my very first question to you. We are talking about COVID. We are talking about crisis and all. What is your understanding of this crisis itself from your context? What does this mean to you? What is it? Is this a crisis at all in the first place? If at all, what is this crisis? What is your understanding of this crisis from your context?
Thanks, Vijay. Yes, just to introduce myself, Venkat Ramana, known as Ramana or Venkat, associated with ISTD for a long, long time. And presently with Landmark Group. Landmark Group, we run the retail stores, Lifestyle, Max, Home Center, Spark, Krispy Kreme, and all of them. We are about 25,000 employees in India with 12,000 crore turnover. And basically, we are in the service industry. So we are one of those, I think, have been majorly hit, like the airlines or the hotels or, so definitely in terms of retail stores, especially we are concentrated more on the apparel side, the fashion retail, not on essentials. So what happens is that today all our stores are closed for the last 45 days. So where, we used to be getting in about 350 crores a month. Now it's hardly, anything that is coming. I think it is not 350, it's about 1,000 crores a month used to be coming every day from our tills. And today we don't get an naya paisa, but we still have 25,000 employees on our rolls. We need to support them. We need to pay their salaries. We need to ensure that at the end of the day, we have various costs that we need to manage. So how we are able to do is the crisis today. And for us, it is very different because even though they may actually kind of lift the lockdown, malls may not open because, they are air conditioned, they are the ones lastly that you will kind of, people will be allowed to enter. Cinema theaters, malls, other things that would get, worst hit. And given this context, what we would have done last year, we are looking at, if things go fine in the next 1 or 2 months, maybe, 40 to 50% of the turnover is what we will do. But we need to continue to pay our employees and keep them on our rolls. How do we do that? So that is the crisis, and it is a major crisis, and it is mostly connected with human resources because it is a very, very HR-centric business. And at the bottom of the pyramid is where we have our maximum employees. 85% of our employees are at minimum wages. So that is the kind of profile of employees we have. And the average age of the company is 27 years. So you will understand the velocity of the crisis that we will be going through.
Yeah.
So that is what will be the crisis for us.
All of us have directly experienced your service. We really wish that you come through this crisis well. So that's crisis from your perspective, retail, major, just operating in India. And now may I direct this very same question to Naresh. He's in a different industry, manufacturing, chemical. Naresh, your views of this crisis.
Yeah, thanks, Vijay. Just a bit of introduction about me. I'm Naresh Kumar, associated with ISTD, and I'm currently working as a group president in Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Limited. We are based out of Pune. The corporate office is based out of Pune. We have 5 factories across India in different states. And our business basically is into 3 verticals. One is fertilizers, as the name suggests. The second is into producing a product called IPA, isopropyl alcohol. We are the only manufacturer of IPA in India. And you may not be knowing much about IPA, but if I tell you sanitizer, because you all must be using sanitizers today. So what goes into sanitizer is IPA. So you can understand our situation. We are the only manufacturer in India, and we produce IPA, which is used for manufacturing sanitizer. The third product we manufacture is something called technical ammonium nitrate, which is used as an explosive in the mining, coal mining and other mining areas. So all 3 of our products are declared as essential commodities under the Essential Commodities Act. So we have a different problem. We need to continue to run our manufacturing units because we are producing essential commodities. So 4 out of our 5 manufacturing units are operational today. Though to a reduced extent, we are not going full steam because of other challenges like the availability of raw material, the logistic challenges we have, the attendance of employees during this kind of a crisis. So this is the situation we are into. We are in a slightly better situation than what Ramana has mentioned, but then the crisis also has hit us. So what exactly is this crisis? People are calling this as a black swan event. If you must have heard it before, Black Swan is the name of a book which is written by Nasib Talib in 2007, where he explains what exactly is a black swan event. A black swan event is something which comes up in a very surprising way, like a war, like a natural calamity. So a war we can actually expect building in, but a natural calamity will take the people by storm. But then this black swan event has taken over more than 200 countries. It's not confined to a particular part of a geographical location like an earthquake or a volcanic explosion or floods. It has swept across the world. This is the black swan event. And what happens in a black swan event is it will have a catastrophic impact. Here we are talking about businesses. And at the end of the day, we may see some of the businesses just being wiped away. They will not be there on the face of this earth once we come out of this event, and we don't know when we are going to come out of this. So that is another thing. And what happens in a black swan event basically is the business continuity plans, the safety plans, the emergency response plans, all these we can throw out of the window. These will not come in handy because there is no template, there is no SOP, or there is no playbook to handle this kind of a situation. And none of us who are alive today would have been alive at the time when the country, the world had a black swan event like the Spanish flu in 1920. So this is the situation which we are currently grappling with, and this certainly will have a very adverse impact on the businesses, to some extent on some businesses, but to a large extent on some other businesses. Over to you, Vijay.
Yeah, one thing I can say, this black swan is blacker than ever. The Spanish flu would have been contained to a certain part of the geography, but today we are seeing, like you rightly said, it is hitting the entire world. We don't know how far it is going to impact us, but yes, we are in the middle of the black swan event, and none of us really know where we're headed. Let's also, we are looking at two sides. There is one industry, Venkatramana, where he is saying he's not able to go sell. He's being asked to shut shop, and he needs to take care of his people. On the other hand, we have Naresh, who has to run, maybe extra shifts to cater to the demand, but he is struggling to make that happen. Let's also hear from the next gentleman, Tilak from GE. Tilak, you may want to introduce yourself and what your organization does, and then talk about what this crisis means to you and how it's impacting you.
Thank you, Vijay, and thank you, ISTD, for giving me this opportunity. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Tilak, and I've been with GE for the last 9 years. Prior to that, I could hear a lot of background noise. Somebody's traveling and they have logged in through their phone. So, can you put it on mute? There is a fan noise. I think it's coming from Balachandran. Can you put it on mute, please? Okay, perfect. So, sorry, Tilak from GE. I've been with GE for the last 9 years. Prior to that, I'd been with manufacturing with companies like TAFE and with Murugappa Group, and then switched over to IT. I was in IT for about 5 years. See, before getting into my viewpoint, I would want to quickly pick up 2 points which Shivram talked about, as well as what Naresh talked about. See, Shivram talked about that we were in industry 4.0 and now we are in industry 5.0. Trust me, Shivram, we are not in 5.0. We were in 5.0 when this was impacting China in the month of February. We are already in 5.2 when it started having the first case in India. Now probably we are in 5.1, 5.11 or 5.15, because every day the scenario is changing. So I think whatever we have seen till now is not what is the intensity which had hit the other countries. So I think we are going to have more and more surprises, is what I get to hear when I speak to my medical director every day. The second point is what we realized as an organization in GE. In fact, as you know, GE is into multiple business. We are into aviation, we are into transportation, we are into healthcare. And I am representing a company which is called LM Wind Power, which makes the wind turbine blades for the wind turbine, which normally people refer it as windmill. We are a 400 million company based out of India with about 4,000 employees. So what is coming out very explicitly in line with what Naresh talked about, the template, though we are one entity, one organization, one conglomerate in India, the template is really keeping us on our toes. So what is applicable for aviation suddenly is becoming irrelevant to the other business. Probably when we speak to each other in our HR leaders call, which we do twice in a week, the challenge which the healthcare HR leader is having is very different from the challenge I have. See, as you know, we make blades through the glass fiber technology, and for this we use a lot of chemicals, and these chemicals are not chemicals which can have longer bookshelves. So I need to have raw materials coming into my plant every 2 days, and once I make a blade, and these blades are so huge, you cannot afford to have huge transportation costs. So they need to be shipped out of the plant within 2-3 days, and that has to be transferred to Tuticorin if it is coming from my Bangalore plant, or to a port in Gujarat if it is from the Vadodara. With all these districts sealed, with all these states sealed, I think the crisis is even more bigger. But I think we are trying to sail through this crisis where we are coming under the power industry. But the next challenge which we have started facing from Monday, which is 3 days before, is as soon as the government started relaxing the rules, the employees were very scared to come back to office. So even if you have a pickup from their home, they get to hear so much about this in media. So convincing them and bringing them back is going to be really tough. So I feel that there is more coming our way, and it is the need of the hour for us to not have a template very similar to what Naresh talked about. and probably be much more dynamic because the situation looks very fragile. So that will be my opening remark. Back to you, Vijay.
Yeah, I think there is one thing that we all seem to be agreeing is for the question on whether there is a crisis or not. Yes, there is a crisis, and it is hitting us in different ways, different industries in different ways. It can be dependent upon the geography where we are, the profession where we are, the industry where we are, or the life cycle of our product or career itself. It can be impacting different people in different ways. Now, even within this call, within the very short time, it almost looks like scaremongering, right? Even between us, we mature professionals, we are scared where it can go and so on. And just because of this very fact, the responsibility of HR is also a lot more. We are at the front. There's people who are thinking, it is people who are acting. Do we need to ensure people react? Do you need to ensure people are responding? Do we need to ensure people are thinking differently in different times and so on? I'm sure the role of HR is going to be very, very important here. Today in our conversation, now that we have established that there is a crisis out there and that we need to manage the crisis, we will keep the conversation today around the role of HR, and just so that we're a little bit focused, we will think about the Indian organizations or organizations based out of India with possibly some branch offices elsewhere in the world, right? We'll keep to this context. Now, I will like to pose this question to Naresh. Naresh, what do you think is the role of HR in this time? What is it we need to be doing at all in HR? We are like confused. There are so many things, so many demands that are coming of us. What do you think is the primary role of HR? Is it motivating people? Is it sending people out, cutting costs? What is it that we need to do, Naresh?
Absolutely, Vijay. I think, as you rightly said, we are in a confused state because currently we are navigating a paradox, actually, a situation where we play a dual role in the organization today. HR, as you all know, we are the caregivers. We are the respondents for any emotional outlets for the employees. People come to us first if they are emotionally disturbed. So we play the role of caregivers. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to build an organization which has to win and succeed at the marketplace. So in the current situation, say, for example, many of the businesses today have to navigate these paradoxes through their HR leaders. How do we do that, basically? So, because these objectives come actually contradictory to each other. Say, for example, we need to ensure a motivated workforce all the time, an engaged workforce. Let's say today, if I'll have to expect my, I think someone.
So Mr. Tirunavukarasu, request you to go on mute, please. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so today what's happening when 4 of our manufacturing units are working, I think we salute the people who are coming and attending duties there. It may be a different thing that we have transportation, we are sanitizing the workplace, we are sanitizing the buses, we have temperature checks, we have put up sanitizing tunnels. But then you can understand the stress and the fear which the employees' families go through, the children also go through when their dad is actually leaving for work. So how do we handle this situation? And tomorrow, businesses may be faced with a situation, they'll have to resort to ensure that they'll have to reduce the fixed costs to tide over this crisis as an offshoot of this current situation. So we'll have to keep the engagement levels high, reduce the fixed costs, ensure that we have working capital is flowing in, and then we have other responsibilities, say, for example, supporting the businesses in ensuring business continuity and making digital the most preferred tool in terms of running our businesses. And also the last one is communication, which is very important today. How transparent can we be? Can we be actually talking all motivational things to the employees? Can we sugarcoat the communication? Because we don't know what is coming up tomorrow. And what do we have to do? Because it's the survival of the business at the end of the day, which is going to keep the workplace intact. So HR has to play a very, very, I would say, an unenviable role in this current kind of a situation. And there is no silver bullet which one can offer to anybody because each business demands a different approach. Say, for example, what is good for me may not be good for Ramana. What is good for Ramana may not be good for Tilak. So it depends on how deep your pockets are, what kind of a business model you have, and how long are you going to survive this kind of a crisis. I think this is my take on that, Vijay.
Yeah, beautiful, Naresh. Actually, very well said. While you were yourself talking about multiple things that HR can do, right? From keeping employees motivated, from ensuring cost is in the right place, and so on and so forth. You start your response saying that, it is about winning in the marketplace. That is something that I really like. I mean, even if I were to ask you, maybe you can respond even now. If you were to pick up one of those from multiple things that you said, what is the most important thing that HR has to do, Naresh?
I would say two. It's two important things which we need to ensure. We need to continue to keep the trust with our employees, which we have built over a period of time. See, because the trust can just go away in 1 month's time. All the trust which we have taken pains to build because how are you going to live your values during the period of crisis? Because you can always live and implement your values when the things are going well. But then when you have a downside like this, how are you going to lead your values? Say, for example, you take the case of care, accountability, and results.
Yeah, in a minute, Naresh, sorry for cutting you and behaving like Arnab right now, right? So, I'm asking you to pick up one thing, Naresh, right?
I pick up two things basically.
To culture, values, and bed, right? What is the most important thing?
What is most important is how do I keep my business intact to see
that's what I wanted to hear from you,
next financial year. Yes.
Excellent. That is what I wanted to hear from you. How do I keep my business intact? And I will pick your words that you were mentioning earlier. How do I succeed in the marketplace? Right?
Absolutely.
As HR, team members and as HR leaders, this is a challenge that we've been grappling with for long as a HR community. Talking about us being business partners. How do you support business? How do you enable business? And so on. We've almost had an identity crisis. And most of the times, we say, how do I make myself relevant to business? We try to push ourselves into the boardroom and see what is the impact that HR can create. It was never doubted that HR is the most important function. From being a function that supplies bhaji and bonda, we have come a long way, right? We are no more welfare officers, a personal officer, so on. We've come a really long way, and we're actually in the front line. And today, the responsibility of HR, if I were to take your words, is actually in taking the lead in ensuring that we are able to respond to the marketplace well, and that we are succeeding in the marketplace. Unless and otherwise we are thinking from that dimension, we are not going to succeed in doing justice to the business, right? Well, other things might be subsets. Unless and otherwise we have a focus. When we say in goal setting, when you're setting goals, all of us are HR professionals. When you're talking about goal setting, you're talking about what is the primary thing that we're going after. If that primary thing is clear, we know how to navigate towards that primary goal, right? So assuming that, what we are saying that, responding to the market and ensuring that we are succeeding in the marketplace is one thing, which is most important for HR professionals to do. I'm going to challenge all of you and ask you, the three of you, as to what is it that you are doing in your organizations, in your respective organizations, in that way that you are able to ensure that your organization is either succeeding already or is in a position to succeed in the marketplace. Ramana sir, first over to you. What are you doing? You are a highly seasoned HR professional. You understand business than most of us don't do, right? How are you, and what are you doing to see that your business is successful?
If I look back, one is, like we said, I think the employees need to be kept engaged. They need to have a very positive mind. They need to feel safe. And, also, make sure that our communication processes are in place during this time. And we also need to make sure that they are engaged. So that is from an employee's point of view. When you look at it from a business continuity point of view, I think we become, very, very critical and important as far as business continuity plans are concerned. Because today, a business like ours, where we would have needed maybe 200 people in a lifestyle store when we start, maybe we may require only 50 people when we start. So how do we engage the 150 people? How do we actually keep them, employed for a period of time? So that is something which is a very, very critical decision. And today, productivity plays a very important role in the whole business. I mean, the success of the business. And how do we make sure that we make them productive? So we need to think out of the box from a people point of view. One is that, okay, I mean, how do we ensure that we balance between the employer and the employee? Because at the end of the day, for us, the business should run for us to pay them. If the business is not running the way it is running, how do we then, protect the employee? So it is a very, very difficult situation where we need to balance it well. So we are thinking out of the box. Let me come specifically to what we do as an organization. Definitely from HR, we are thinking as to how we make sure that we keep as many people and we don't lay off people, because it's important how we at this time of crisis, how we react as an organization, because we've also been known as one of the best employers to work for in the country, and we have a brand which we need to keep it going. So because that also is, we are the custodian as HR, as an employer brand. So given that context, today maybe we think in terms of, okay, I mean, what one employee is being paid, we need to pay that wages to two employees, which maybe would mean that we need to look at the furlough, which is primarily he's on leave for 50% of the days on unpaid leave, and then the other person gets paid during that time. So it actually gets distributed. So both of them are employed. It's not a layoff that we do. That's something out of the box. We wouldn't have even thought of something like that. But then today we are thinking of something like that. Second is, if we are looking at, we definitely need to look at salary cuts, because that is, it is inevitable if you really look at it, because for our sustenance in the long term. So that would mean that we take it at the top. The leaders lead the way, and then, anything being done at the bottom of the pyramid. So people start actually thinking that, yes, we are, a company which actually the leaders are leading the way, and they are taking the hit first or the brunt first before we are, kind of, have to. And it is also very important that you take the buy-in of the people, and that is where HR plays a very, very important role, because and it is these times, it is important that we should have had kept a lean structure. Yeah.
You please continue, sir. Mr. Isik Raja, if you may go on mute, please. Thank you.
Yeah, we should have kept a lean structure and things like that, but we would have been, preparing ourselves for the future. If we had a CAGR growth of about 25%, we would have thought, yes, we need to get prepared, our management team or, employees at the lower level. So all these, you need to now balance it well. And that is where I think HR, specific to my industry, is playing a very, very critical role.
Yeah. You said a lot of things, Mr. Ramana, right? If I were to again ask you to pick something that you're doing, which will actually help you in succeeding in the marketplace, I'm not disputing for a moment that all these things are going to lead to you, succeeding in the marketplace. I want you to establish for us, we want to learn from your best practices. How is it you're approaching things differently in that, you're having an outside-in view rather than inside out? Inside-out view to me will be, I'm cutting costs, I'm ensuring motivation, blah, 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 right? Am I starting to think from outside of the organization and seeing how do I increase my market share? How do I ensure that, I am either diversifying or whatever I do in such a way, or I do better than my competition? So are there any such thoughts that you're having? Are there any discussions that you're having internally in your management in that you're preparing yourself? And when you get out of this, current 1, 2, 3 months time, how will you ensure that your business is back up and running at full pace?
So,
or is it at all possible?
No, it is possible, because even in our, meetings, what we speak about is a lot of small players will go out of business. They will not be able to sustain in this environment. So that is a market which is opening up for us. There could be large players today with heavy debt who are not able to service that debt, as well as take care of the employees, they can be actually out of business too. So these are things that we are looking at the end of the day. How do we actually capitalize on that and use this as an opportunity? Maybe this is, it's a very competitive field. It is unfortunately or fortunately, we need to be prepared for the future. This is the kind of, conversations HR needs to lead, to say that let us not look at it, in the negative side. Let us look at it as not half empty, but let us look at it as half full, and then work positively to make sure that at these times we equip them. Maybe we need to multi-skill them, multitask them. There is an opportunity. E-commerce business is growing. We need to grow our business. We've already grown our business 2x. So how do we do it, 5x in terms of our e-commerce? A lot of our employees need to be deployed there. So how do you multi-skill them? So these are, things out of the box is what as HR in my specific industry that we are doing.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll come back to you on that. Let me move over to Tilak. Tilak, what is it that you are doing from your organization to see that you are succeeding in the marketplace?
Perfect. Thanks, Vijay. So I probably internalized a little bit when my other friends spoke about it. In addition to, I probably normally use this ideology all of the time. When you ask a CEO, do you want to have a CFO or a CHRO? The CEO also always picks up CFO, which is very sad, sad for all of us. So I totally agree with what Naresh and Ramana said on the business perspective, where we need to ensure that we need to have our business running. But the most important piece, which we believe we started doing in addition to the business continuity, is the trust and communication. Okay. In fact, I have a couple of examples to talk about. I'll probably keep it very precise. See, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever industry you are, wherever you are, people always think the HR guy has a solution. And in fact, I have one of my production manager who's based out of Bangalore. And incidentally, he has his mother's house in Chennai. During the early COVID days, he had traveled to Chennai one weekend and he had dropped his daughter here in Chennai and went back. And after that, there has been shutdown. He just called me and said, I need to come to Chennai. Please help me to come. I need a pass and all that. And I'm actually based out of Bangalore and I'm also in Chennai during this crisis. I had to only reach out to my HR head in the plant. And trust me, he was arranged a pass where he can travel to the to his hometown in Chennai, pick up his daughter and go back. See, for me, that is trust building. You may call it very trivial. This is one example. The other example which I want to talk about is one of my employees' spouse who is in Gujarat, and our plant is in a place called Halol, which is pretty far away from Vadodara. So one of the employees' spouse had some symptoms, and they didn't even know what to do. So we had a factory medical officer who reached out to them. He actually visited them, and then finally, fortunately, the employee's spouse proved to be negative. So I think that is where and we never published it, but trust me, these messages go very very fast and spreads like wildfire. And I can also give you another example. Actually, the lockdown was announced on the 22nd of March. And we actually had our promotions to be implemented 1st of April. So on 1st of April, we had actually called a town hall with all employees. So all the employees expected us to have a communication saying, due to this crisis, the promotions are not going through. But trust me, we said the promotions, we are going ahead. But this is something which we committed and we are going to. And the second thing we did is we are also going to have an announcement saying for the month of April, May, and for the month of March, April, May, and June, we are implementing a broadband reimbursement, which is a very old policy. But with the immediate effect, we are going to have a broadband reimbursement for all employees. We'll revisit that in June. So after that all hands was over, my employees called me and said, boss, we were anticipating some decisions, some communication around salary reduction, job cuts and all that stuff. What are you doing? I said, boss, we'll cross the bridge when you have to cross. When the rubber hits the road, we'll see what needs to be done. So I think one important factor I feel is constant communication. And what we have done differently is, I know all of us are working from home. We've actually created some excitement for employees when they work from home. We had actually asked our employees to click pictures along with their spouse, along with their kids, having some signals, having some.
Tilak, I'll hold you here a little bit. Tilak, I'll hold you here a little bit. We'll get to what you're doing while you're in the work from home mode and all. That is important for us to talk, right? I am not disputing that. I want you to keep your focus on what is it that you, as a HR leader, are doing towards ensuring that you are succeeding in the marketplace. And we seem to be agreeing. Yeah.
Trust building and communication. Trust building and constant and continuous communication.
Beautiful. At this point of time, you're building a lot of trust in your people. You're continually communicating. And what is it that you're doing with your business? And what kind of dialogue are you having with your CEO?
So we already, you will not believe, actually in the last 3 weeks, we had 3 reviews with our CEO who's based out of Europe, talking about the scenario, different scenarios. Assuming we start our operations on 20th, what is our outlook? Assuming we start our operations on 3rd, with the raw material not going to be available for us immediately, what is going to be our outlook? What is our Q1 results? What is our Q2 results looking like? And trust me, we already presented a business case to the CEO. We have a follow-up meeting on Monday where we are going to have a plan saying we are not going to be cutting even one headcount. So we are on top
Beautiful.
of it.
I like the sound of that, Tilak. And for a HR guy, we have to prod him to come out with that. This is something that all of us are doing. We are connected to the business. We understand the financial numbers. We are able to predict how the business is going to go. We are able to see how the competition is faring. We are able to see where the market is. We are able to see how do we expand the market. We are able to see how we are able to get our people ready to be able to take on that market when the time comes.
Exactly.
Right? This is our responsibility. It's also our responsibility to see that we create the right kind of sales organization for us to be able to build that sales pipeline so that we as an organization grow in the marketplace. This is an opportunity again. Now, let me also circle back now to Naresh. He's the one who started it all, right? The role of HR today being, making us successful in the marketplace. Naresh, what are you doing? It looks like you're already succeeding. You are in great demand. What else are you doing to see that you are successful in the longer term in the marketplace?
Yeah, Vijay, I'll tell you. I'll start this with a rider basically. See, today as we are speaking, we don't know where we are heading as of now, because if there is a debrief from the ministries at 4 o'clock every day on the television. Today I was watching at 4 o'clock. And one of the joint secretary who was there mentioned that September everything will be okay. One reporter took on him. He said the Punjab chief minister says that by September everything is going to be okay. And you are now coming out and saying by September everything is okay. What is the basis for your prognosis? Where are you coming from? Why not next month? Why? But some people are telling this is going to last for 1 year. So today, if anybody comes and says, if by September everything is going to be okay, I think we are just daydreaming. I think I'm being a little bit pessimistic here, but we don't know. We don't know when is this going to end. And I'll tell you some more about my business today. We are running 2 projects, actually new projects, and we have pumped in several thousands of crores into these 2 projects, expanding our businesses. Today, both the projects, no work is going on. And when whatever we have pumped in as capital in that projects are now stuck. So unless whatever is the current situation is eased, we won't be able to go ahead with the continuity of the project, and there's going to be delay in execution of these projects. That's one situation we need to be alive to. And currently, if you ask me, what we are doing is we are working as a management team. We are working on looking at how much of our fixed costs we can reduce. Unfortunately, I can't go into the details, but then we need to reduce our fixed costs substantially. And once we made the decision, certainly we will be actually able to share what exactly we are doing in that end. Because we know we are not going to achieve the budgets for this current year. 2021-22, it's a question mark. It depends on how long this virus is going to last, how long things are going to get back to normalcy. I think that is what we are keeping our antennas up and be prepared for any eventuality and taking things as they come by.
Yeah, that is getting your organization to be ready for the unexpected, if I can rephrase your
yes, word. And building resilience into the organization, as you would say.
Beautiful. So if you look at it, you're from 3 different industries, right? Now, all of you are doing different things to see that you're succeeding in the marketplace. But then the common factor that is linking everyone is we are thinking about the market. We're thinking about how we are going to grow the business, rather than just think about what do I do as a HR practice. We are not talking from a HR practice perspective and saying, this is what our best practices and I'll do this. Instead, it's an outside in view. I mean, if I may take the liberty to add on, my industry, what is it that we do? We are an IT company because we don't have IT representation here. Let me take that opportunity. We are an IT product company. We make IT products for banks, right? In a way, you can say we are similar to Naresh. This is a time that banks also do not shut down. We even are running RBI. RBI runs on our software, so which means our people are essential and we are continuing to work. And similarly, we have more than 100 banks around the world who are using our software. And today, we are seeing that some of the banks are paying us earlier than what they would normally do, right? Because they see that we are probably in some difficulty and they're able to pay as well because it's banks, they're able to do that from multiple parts of the world. But then we definitely know that over a period of time, the ripple effect of whatever is happening is going to come through, and even the banks are going to delay their investments on technology, right? Maybe they will continue the same technology for some more time and so on and so forth. So what is it that we are doing today to see that we are succeeding in the business place? We are sitting and working on how do we expand on the roles of people. Now today, working from home has given us a new awakening itself, right? We are able to see that we are able to produce 1.3, 1.4x of productivity than what we used to produce earlier, right? We are measuring the productivity and seeing that it is actually better than what it used to be. So we are probably heading towards a new area where we are able to expand, one, the productivity, and two, we have started looking at the knowledge packets that people have and see how we can expand on the knowledge packets or related knowledges that you can pick up so that you perform more roles out of your box than what you are currently performing. Thereby, you're increasing the bandwidth of people. And three, we are looking at what is the next wave that is going to come. We are already discussing today with our board as to what is the next wave that is coming. We are a product company. What is the next thing that we are going to do that is going to give us the revenue tomorrow, right? Today's cash cow might be something. What is my tomorrow's cash cow? What is it that HR has to do to build tomorrow's cash cow? So how do I get my organization ready to be technologically ready for giving me that cash cow 2 years from here, right? The focus is always on the business, that outside in perspective, which is good. The learning for the people who are in this conference, for all those people who are here, thank you for joining again, is that it is all very different for different industries. We don't need to necessarily adopt what Ramana is doing or Naresh is doing or Tilak is doing or what Vijay might be doing. It is about understanding our industry, but rather asking the question from the perspective of what is it that I do to improve my business, right? That is one perspective. And secondly, we cannot dispute the fact that we are HR professionals. We cannot dispute the fact that we are people who believe that we are holding the culture of the organization. Maybe we hold it along with others, right? This is my next line of questioning to you gentlemen, the call. What is it that you're doing, rather, the first question is it important that you take care of your culture, of your organization culture? If so, what is it that you're doing to take care of your culture? Are you doing something different to strengthen the culture that you've already had, right? This is my question. Let me pose this question first to Ramana again, right? Ramana, what is your culture? What are you doing to keep your culture alive?
So,
have you ever faced a dilemma with your culture? No, this is not my culture, but COVID situation is demanding this. Did you face a dilemma, a paradox like Naresh said? And how did you manage that?
Yeah, I think for us, culture is very important. I think the foundation of an organization is, on your values and your culture is what it has to be built. Only then it becomes, a long-term organization is my belief. Given that, even during these times, it is important that how you, exhibit that, like as leadership to the rest of the team at various levels becomes important. And how you also come and say, we had a peculiar, I'm sure some of you would know, staying in Chennai, that in one of our stores at Phoenix Market City in Velachery, we had, 2 COVID cases, positive cases. And one was in Tiruvannamalai and another was in, I think, Namakkal. So basically, we kind of, went out of our way to take care of both of them, So today, their parents, their siblings, all of us, their parents spoke to me, they wrote to me, they said, we never thought that an organization will take care of our children during these times so very well. So that is what spreads to the rest of them. And that is what I think we need to kind of, convey to our employees at this time. And, if you see, we are talking about internal communication, we said, every communication goes in terms of how for them to be safe, what are all which is the nearest hospital, have they got to the app, have they registered, so they feel that the employer, our management is concerned about us during these times also. So that is something which we did. And even, when salaries last month, we knew that, people were buying provisions earlier, they had to so we actually gave salaries a few days advance, the month's salary, March month's salary. And that is something which people feel that, yes, this organization definitely cares for us. There are companies which are wondering whether, they will be paid salaries. And for us, it has always been that come what may, the last day of the month, the money will hit them in the bank, the salary will hit them in the bank. So that has been something which we have been going. And during these times, we did it in advance. So they are, they are really pleased and they think this is what our organization means. And even if we are going to do anything, I said today, it could be difficult for us to run such a large organization with such large number of people if our business is only 50% of what it used to be. But then I'm sure they will partake in our pain. So we will communicate to them and make sure that there is a buy-in, and then we drive it. So that is how we would kind of run organization without any union, without any kind of, I don't have one labor case in any court for, 25,000 employees working in my organization. I think that is what is very critical and important. You build culture with our people.
So very nice to hear that, especially to say in a time when your business is hit, you're not selling at all. All of us know you're not selling, right? At that point to say, I'm going to be paying your salary earlier than what I used to pay. That speaks a lot about the culture of your place, and you're holding that up. Terrific job. I don't think it would be an easy thing for any organization, even if you have a lot of cash in hand. It is not something that's easy. I'm not even looking at the cash, but have the heart to say that this is how I'll take care of your employees is a great deal. And if you were to go to one of your employees in the store, I'm sure all of us will head back once things open up to your stores and ask one of those employees, what do you think they will have to say? If you were to ask them the question, what do you think of your organization? Tell me about what you feel about your organization. What do you think will be the response?
I didn't get you, Vijay.
So if you were to go to a store assistant in your store, let's say lifestyle store, and to an assistant who's selling there, ask them, what do you feel about your organization? Tell me in few words about your company. What would he or she say?
Actually, we do these engagement surveys every year. We have the Great Place to Work surveys. And what comes back to us is, 99% of our women who work in our organization feel it's a safe place to work. And they see that we are fair, we are transparent in our thought processes. So I think these are things that which builds the culture of an organization. We've been focusing on that. So our values are deep driven into them. So they actually exhibit values at home.
It's not just a feeling, but it is backed by data and doing it on a basis. So it is not just culture in the air, but culture also noted down and said, no, these are our cultural values, and this is the way we exhibit our culture, and continuing to maintain that even during these tough times. Beautiful. Let me move over to Naresh and ask him about the culture in his place, and what is the culture that he has built up till now, and is that culture helping you, Naresh, in whatever you're going through, and how would you see that you're protecting your culture through this crisis as we move forward?
Yeah, Vijay, I'll give you some background on this. I joined this organization in the year 2013, to be precise, maybe around 7 years ago. And when I joined this company, one of our biggest manufacturing units in Taloja in Maharashtra, came out of a 6-month strike led by a union leader, which many people know, Dada Samant. So my biggest challenge was, how do we actually integrate this group of people into the organization? That's my biggest challenge. I can't live with an industrial relations environment in manufacturing setup, have daily conflict with the trade unions. So our HR team, in fact, we worked we developed a statement in terms of how do we work on and bring them onto the mainstream. We did a lot of things. I don't want to get into those things. In fact, we got the HR Best Practices Award from IFTDO 3 years ago for the case study which we have presented, and we received this award, cash award of. So I will just give you what happened over a period of time. Today that has come in handy. What we did was we have built an abundance of goodwill with our employees over a period of time. That is what I think is culture building. What we need to do currently is we'll have to continue strengthening this trust and also this emotional bank balance, as Ken Blanchard puts it in his book, The Well Done. So this emotional bank balance which we have created on the positive side, we need to keep using that and reinforcing that. And I'll tell you, I'm very, very happy to, proud to tell union leaders, they said, you telephone and tell us, sir, in case you have any problem in running the manufacturing units. We are there. We will go around and ensure that everything runs smoothly. And I can't think of this in 2013 when I joined the company, when we had conflicts day in and day out. So this is something which we have built over a period of time. I don't want to expand on this for the paucity of time, because this case study was also published in a journal called the International Journal for Training and Development, which is available on the Google. If you Google it, you get the case study. This is a case study which we have published. And the second thing which we are doing is, we talk about talent management, Vijay. Most of us talk about talent management, and we have processes in place. We identify our top talent, and some organizations call them high potentials also. So how are these top talents measuring up in these times of crisis? Are you noticing any heroes who are standing out during this period of crisis? We did notice some people who actually came out of the blue and they are standing out in the period of crisis. I'll give you an example. We received a courier from Delhi, which contains a financial document, which when we were 7 days into the lockdown. And this courier document was lying with a courier company's warehouse outside of Pune in a godforsaken village where they have kept the warehouse because of cheap rentals and all. So what happened was, we need to have access to that financial document to be presented to the bank in case we need to have a proper cash flow. This was last month. So the villagers threatened the courier fellows that if you come into the village, we will break your bones. So 2 of our employees assisted with the general manager one night. They said, we will go, we will take some support, we will convince the local sarpanch, and we will get hold. The DHL fellows were very, very reluctant to go with them. They ensured that they go with them, and out of the maze of documents which are lying there, they had to sift through for 3 hours to identify this envelope and bring it to the finance department. The CFO was amazed with the kind of work these guys have done. So these are the heroes which are emerging out. I have many stories to say, but then I thought this is an example. How do we celebrate these heroes, and how do we actually present that to the executive management team, and how do we run stories on these people? This is the way I think we need to build culture in the organization, rather than looking at the individual contributors in comparison to the people who can collaborate and achieve things during crisis. The real leadership comes out in the period of crisis. That is what we have understood. Over to you, Vijay.
Sorry, I think somebody muted me. The host must have muted me. So maybe they don't want me to talk so much, huh? Right. Naresh, it is beautiful to see that the trust that you have built in your people over a long period of time is actually paying off during the time of crisis, right? I remember the story. I got it as a forward. There was this flight, and there was this businessman who was flying this flight, and the captain announces that they are due to hit a turbulence, right? And then the flight gets into turbulence, and it is tossing on and off, and it's one of those worst flights. Like when you get to Australia, when you're getting closer, it can go up and down 10 feet up and down, right? That kind of tossing, you get a feeling like you're going to fall off any time. And as this was happening, everybody's screaming. There is this little girl who's sitting peacefully and not even worried about anything, right? After they land, this person goes up to this small little girl and asks her, "Baby, you don't seem to be scared at all. And when all of us were shouting, why were you sitting so silent? And you didn't seem to be worried at all." And she said, "Uncle, it is my daddy who's taking me home. He is the captain." Right? So the leader, the trust in the leader, when you have, do our people trust the leaders to take them home safely during this crisis, right? If the trust is there, they will do anything, right? So today it is about creating leaders, or ensuring that we identify and put those leaders in the front to take care of the organization in wartime. Today we are in wartime, right? It is not peacetime. Developing a wartime leader is different from managing a leader in peacetime. So Ramana sir, back to you. The question is, are you doing something today and what is it that you're doing with your leaders to see that you are obviously going through turbulence today? Your revenue is hit, you're going through a lot of difficulties, you're even having to reduce salaries, and still your people are going to stick around with you. You are coming out with innovative ways of ensuring that your compensation is managed right? And what is it that you're working on with your leaders to see that the leaders are capable of sailing or captaining your ship through this crisis and coming out into more peaceful waters?
Vijay, sorry. So you missed out hearing me on the same question which Ramana and Naresh talked about.
Definitely, I'll come to you, Tilak. This was just a follow-up, Ramana. I'll come to you in a bit, right? Thank you. Right, Ramana.
Yeah. So primarily what we're doing is that, we cascade it to leaders at various levels. Because even if you take, in terms of our values, I think our values are, the abbreviation is I lead, which means that L stands for listen, E empower, A adapt, D deliver with integrity, I. So that is what we actually kind of imbibe at various levels in the organization. So one thing is that all our leaders are now, because listening as a communication tool is something which is there, and they have communication at various levels today. Also, if you look at it, the store employees, even if they are at home, are being communicated on a daily basis. They are on their smartphones. We have learning lessons, training continues to happen, learning and development continues to happen, as well as the leaders continue to speak to them. Manager keeps engaged with them, their area manager. So at various levels, they kind of engage them and motivate them and keep them spirited. I think that becomes very critical. And okay, we also tell them both sides, because at the end of the day, it's not just the positive side. They also need to understand what the pain the organization is going, what the industry is going, what the environment is outside. All this is communicated to them to actually prepare. We give them, gloves and masks and sanitizers at our stores, but also we prepare them and, how they need to actually adapt themselves to this crisis. I think that's something which we communicate to them regularly at various levels.
Okay, so you have a defined set of leaders whom you have a regular conversation on how they are managing, how they are communicating to their people and so on. What do we do from HR side? So you connect to leaders at various levels. I'm only trying to understand from a HR leader perspective, what does a HR leader do during this time to connect to the leaders and see that they are doing what they are supposed to do in order to steer the ship in the right direction?
Actually, we have, at various meet at various levels, at executive committee level, where all other functional heads are there, and everybody has, their own agenda which they speak about, their function they speak about, and it is there where HR talks about their people and how connected they are with their people, especially when they are working out of home. Because, like you said, we ensure productivity is better than they working out of office. Today, designers, for them, all their high tech PCs have been moved to their homes, and they are designing from their homes. I mean, the back end, the fashion designers. So like that, everybody is engaged, and they are made sure they are connected all the time to make sure that there is continuity. They don't feel that they are away from the office. So that's something which we connect, and the crisis is also spoken to them. They understand at various levels. We have open houses which we conduct very regularly at the MD-1 as well as the skip level is what we do. So that is something which we do with every business. So these are how HR actually connects with the employees as well as the managers in the organization.
What I hear you saying, Ramana, is that listen. That word listen is what is coming through as you're talking. You're listening to people. You're listening to different ideas of ways of doing business, and so on. Beautiful. As we are talking, I'm also seeing a lot of comments coming in where Ponnu Swami is talking about him doing something similar to what you're doing, paying wages early, right? So good to see engagement happening on the sidelines on the chat as well, right? And some of them are privately talking to me about being an Arnab and so on, but that's okay, right? Our friends won't mind me doing that. Now let me circle back to Tilak, okay? So Tilak, right? While we are talking about culture, right? You're an organization who's into if I may say, wind power generation and so on. You're more of a manufacturing organization, and your people must be used to working from office only. Most of the people are now at home. How do you keep people engaged, in this time, and how do you keep them motivated while they are, in this kind of a situation? And what is your culture? Is your culture defined? And are you doing something to strengthen your culture further, or reinforce it, like how Ramana or Naresh were talking about?
Perfect. So I'll probably add a couple of more things. I'll not probably repeat what they have said. See, one thing which I initially said, which I will reinforce now, is we as an organization, G as an organization, believes in a lot of trust and being very transparent. So we have continued to do that. And we have two organizations. One is the technology center folks, which are about 300 of them. And the remaining folks are people who are attached to manufacturing. And we predominantly call them as blue collars and white collar employees. Blue collar employees are the guys who actually make those blades on the shop, and white collar employees are people who predominantly work in office, who may sit in a plant or who may sit in the R&D center. So in the last, I would say 7 to 8 weeks, for the white collars, nothing has changed. We used to do a town hall once in a month, and both these town halls were falling post the lockdown period, and none of the town halls got impacted. We continue to do the town hall as if it's business as usual. The other piece which we have been very, very openly talking about to our employees is the transparency in terms of where the business is. We did, in fact, during one of those town halls, we talked to them about our Q&A results, which are good. And then we also talked about the outlook for 2020 in terms of what is coming our way. So I think building the trust and being very transparent really helped. In terms of blue collars, I had been very fortunate to have a very strong HR team in both the locations. And today I have a data once in 2 days in terms of how the HR team has reached out to people. Once in 2 days in terms of members database. In fact, I'll give you an example. When we started our plant in Vadodara on Monday late evening, I get a call from my HR head telling me that one of his employee is not allowed by his sarpanch. And in Gujarat, in the districts, you'll see the sarpanch holds a lot of power. Though the government has declared that the Halol area is a green zone and people can work, the sarpanch has not allowed the employee. And the employee calls up the HR manager and says, "Boss, I want to come to work. I know we are working. Can you talk to my sarpanch and allow me to come to the plant?" That's the kind of trust level which we try to inculcate. In addition to that, I know people talked about business orientation. People talked about engaging them from a learning standpoint, which we still do. The other thing which we also did in the last 2-3 weeks is to bring certain amount of softer elements in the employees. We have actually talked to our employees, to our people, and say it's perfectly okay to you being working at home. Try to be very creative in sharing something which you do out of the box. And we have actually created a communication channel every day where such pictures are published. It can be a CEO trying to prepare a dinner, or somebody trying to do an yoga and all that. In addition to that, we have also used the employee well-being measures. In fact, today we have online yoga and online Zumba dance classes. So I know it may sound a very little trivial in terms of why you're doing all this, but I think those are the things which we want to be doing continuously to tell people that it is business as usual as of now. And as I said, once things get back to normal, or once we start resuming the work, we'll probably do what is required at that point of time. So give them that feeling, not put them into kind of uncertainty is what we believed it. And I think that is probably a little bit of transactional, but I think that goes a big way in your employees believing that you are their employee advocates and you are their sounding board if they have a problem. So not sure if that helps, but that's the way we attack to this, and then we'll be doing more in the coming days. We never wanted to give a dull moment to our employees, saying that you are away from the organization. So that's all. That's all from my side.
I think it is too small, right? As long as I think the common theme that is very clearly coming through is building of that trust. And when people see that we give importance to even those small things, that the small things like, I take care of your health, I do yoga online and everything. There is no need for you to actually do that, to take care of their health and welfare and so on. But unless otherwise you have a sincere intent of seeing that your employees are well taken care of, both emotionally and physically. So that is something that people start seeing, that the building of the trust happens through all these multiple modes, all these small things coming together to make it happen. We are going through, definitely now coming back to the crisis that we're talking about, that we don't understand, so on and so forth. I know there have been a lot of conversations which I've also been having with a lot of my friends and colleagues and so on, like how it was AC and AD and BC, before Corona and after Corona, right? At least in my organization, we are already talking about how we are going to be, what the new normal is going to be for us, right? And my chairman was talking to me last week, saying that, no, I have never connected with my leadership team like I have done in the last 1 month. I have connected so much with all you guys, and you have done so much more for me than you guys have done in the past 10 years, right? And I'm able to review and look at different things that you're doing, and I know you even more better, closer today than what I had known you earlier. And I'm also saying that my team, I do my everyday circle time with my team. Morning, 9 o'clock, we connect. We are on the Google Hangout. We are all connecting. We are focused, right? So have an Excel saying, what is it that you're going to do today? What did you do yesterday? Period. Put it down in that chat sheet that we have and so on. We never did that in office. Office, go have chai together and talk about politics, traffic, blah, 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 come back and then do your own work. Yeah, a new normal is emerging. Right? While I can paint a picture of the new normal, I would like to hear from each one of you gentlemen in a couple of minutes, right? What is the new normal according to you? Naresh, we'll go first to you. What is the new normal, Naresh?
Yeah, I see. We working from home is quite alien to us, Vijay. Basically, I think last 7 years, I never had an opportunity to work from home, nor for any of the other colleagues in the office, unless there is some kind of a personal requirement where this employee is indisposed and he needs to work from home. So this is something which we have adopted ourselves in the last 40 days or so. And we realized that our productivity levels have gone up. See, what has gone away is the kind of time we spend. As for example, somebody gets so bored with the work, they'll walk into my office, ask for a cup of coffee and spend some time with me, or the vice versa. So all these have gone away. The commuting time is gone away now, and we are able to sit at home and then do much more than what we were doing. In fact, our CMD was mentioning the other day, he's finding it very nice that we are connecting over the Microsoft Teams and continuing the business as usual, actually. But then the new normal also, it made me introspect. This is purely my personal thoughts. When all the people who are working in the manufacturing unit are going out and carrying out the work, for them nothing has changed. The entire top team and the other layers, we are just sitting at home. And then we have been giving directives to people. So what I started thinking was, do you actually need such a big corporate team who can actually work from home and yet get the results done? Who is actually driving the results? Is this the frontline team who is achieving the results, or is it the corporate team? This is something which I started actually mulling over. I don't know how far we'll have to further introspect and dig deep the relevance of these corporate teams, big corporate teams, which organizations are having today. And the new normal is going to be the social distancing will continue, and there is change of law which is being brought in by the government. Now they are contemplating a 72-hour work week instead of 48-hour work week. Already Gujarat government has come out with a notification saying that 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, 6 days in a week, and they are exempting it from the Factories Act, the provisions of section 56 to 59. Even the overtime provisions are being exempted, that you don't have to pay at double the rate of wages for working beyond 48 hours a week. So we are going to see a lot of legislative changes being coming in. And I understand, I was reading the Economic Times today, there is an article on this. What are the changes which are going to come, especially in the manufacturing industry? So we may have to work on a 12-hour shift, ensure that less number of people are present in the factory, that we focus on the wellness and the health of the employees much more than what we were doing earlier. It becomes a responsibility of the company today. In fact, there was some fake news which were making the rounds also, that the CEO will be arrested in case even one coronavirus is detected in any of the offices. So then today the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has given a clarification that that is fake news. We don't intend doing that. So the new normal is going to be very different from what we are. There's going to be less number of people in the office, and most people will be working from home, at least for the next 1 year. The laws are going to change, and then there will be a lot of, I would say, allowances will be given to the employers to ensure that the economy rebounds, because it's going to have a serious impact on the economy. It's not the problem of one private entrepreneur. It's a problem of the entire country. That's how I look at it, Vijay.
Terrific. So, Ramana sir, what is the new normal to you?
Actually, for us, I think a lot of learnings. I'm sure today cost optimization or cost control is going to be in every organization the most important thing. And one of the first things that we look at is, travel cost. And today we said, okay, there's not going to be any travel at all, and people are not unhappy at all. I mean, at the end of the day, earlier, if you were to say, how does business happen without travel, is what they would say. But today they know without traveling, they can do it. And like we have a corporate office at Bangalore. Cost of, tenancy is very high. And given that, we are looking at, to do away with maybe 50,000 square feet and see how people can work out of home, maybe a cost optimization. So we are looking at things very differently. I think definitely this has, opened up our eyes to a lot of things which we did not know that can be done. And I think it's in a positive sense, it is going to be very good. And the new normal is going to be very different.
Yeah, good to hear that. Now, may I move over to Tilak and ask him the same question? Tilak, new normal, please.
I'll try to be very precise. I'll definitely not repeat what Naresh and Ramana had said. I feel the new norm is going to be uncertain, and it is important for us to deliver in an uncertain world. So I just said in the beginning that there's no going to be a single template. So it's definitely going to be uncertain, different for different industries, and probably the same template may also not work for the same industries also. So there is going to be uncertainty. How we are able to manage and escape through this uncertainty and deliver is going to be the new norm. So that will be my remark in a very short way.
Well said, Tilak. We were saying, that how do we respond to the external environment? How do we ensure that our organization is succeeding in the marketplace is dependent upon the industry where we are in our own personal context. Similarly, the new normal, one thing is sure that we are going towards a new normal, but we don't know what is a new normal for different industries. It can be different for different industries. It can be different for the travel industry. It can be different for the hospitality industry, and it can be very different for manufacturing or IT industry. For instance, we are seeing a new normal which is very different from where we are. So it is only that the awareness that we need to start looking for the new normal and start preparing for the new normal, preparing our associates and preparing ourselves for that new normal. So in this context, may I ask you in a sentence or two, what is the advice you will have for the HR professionals? What is it that we need to do to be ready for that new normal as individual professionals?
Keep an eye.
Not talking about the company.
Keep an eye on your business. At the end of the day, if your business doesn't exist, then you don't exist. Your people don't exist. So keep an eye on the business. Stay connected, and engage with people. Build trust and transparency through constant communication. That's the way I would put it.
Let me hear from the other two gentlemen as well. Naresh, what's
I think what HR should realize in the ultimate analysis, Vijay, is that if the business doesn't win in the marketplace, there is not going to be a workplace. It's as simple as that. I think I put it in a very different way. And the second thing I would say is the world is not going to provide us any certainty. Only thing what we need to do is we will have to build peace and adapt to the situation as the situation unfolds over the next few months. I think these are the two realities which HR professionals should be alive to in the current situation.
Yeah, you're talking about being agile and being able to adapt to the situation.
Yeah,
so that
absolutely. Yeah, I've not used that word agile, but yeah, that's
no, I'm just trying to rephrase what you're saying, Naresh. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And possibly also keeping the knowledge current, not just current, but future ready, right? Developing that future ready talent in ourselves, to see where the world is headed and be ready for that, right? Ramana sir, somewhat. In the meantime, anybody has any questions, please drop it in the chat and we'll pick up the questions and try to answer as many as we can. Yeah, Ramana sir.
Yeah. So I think we've always been a bridge between the employer and the employee. I think how stronger we become as a bridge, this COVID-19 would teach us and has taught us. I think that's something which I think. And also with business, I think these two are very critical, where HR will definitely need to play a much, much larger role is what it has taught us.
Good. So thank you, gentlemen. Now, quickly looking at what we just discussed, we were first looking at the crisis. We acknowledged that there is crisis, and the crisis is different for different industries. From there, we moved on to the role of HR. We saw what is going to be the role of HR, and we spoke of the primary role of HR being that of enabling an organization to succeed in the marketplace, right? That is the perspective with which we'll work. And we need to ensure that our culture is kept intact. And one element that emerged strong out of various cultural elements that we discussed is building of trust. If you had built trust in the past, it is helping you today. And if you're building trust today, it's going to help us tomorrow. And in this situation, it is important that we are building leaders and focusing on leaders to and enable them to steer us through these difficult times. And finally, the acknowledgement that there is a new normal which is coming, and what is it that we need to do, or rather keep ourselves agile to go towards that new normal and be able to survive in that new normal. So this is pretty much what we discussed. And of course, you had a few words of wisdom as to what HR professionals can do. We are starting to see some questions coming in. Let me pick up the first question. It has come from Devarshi Vyas, right? How do learning and engagement activity with employees who belong to rural area and even not having internet and any other support, how do we engage employees who are in rural areas with learners these times, during the COVID times, if I may think, how do you engage with them in learning activities now is what he's asking. Does anyone want to pick it up? Let me in the meantime look at other questions.
I think Vijay, we have in the fertilizer business, we do have employees stationed in the rural areas, because fertilizer business is basically focused in the rural villages only. But I don't see that employees are situated in such places that there is no telephone and internet connectivity. I think the broadband penetration has been quite wide and large in India. I don't think people who are living such remote villages are actually working for us right now. We don't have that problem. So each one of our employees, even when they are working in rural villages, they do have broadband connectivity. They have a VPN. They can log into the join conference, the Microsoft Teams. They are accessible by telephone. I think I don't see that as a problem as of now, because we have been engaging the sales force with some skill-based learning also during this period, because we are preparing them for the season, because the Kharif season is going to start from end of May, where fertilizer sales will pick up, and these people will have to be ready to go out into the market or connect with the farmers over app. We have app-based reach out also to the farmers. Lakhs of farmers are connected to our app, and then they can use technology very effectively.
So,
I did not see that as a concern.
I like the force with which you are coming here, Naresh. I like the force with which you are coming. It is like telling in the early 2000s about everybody having a mobile phone. Today, you can't look at a guy without a mobile phone. You need to accept that you will have a mobile phone, and you will need to accept that you'll have an email ID. You will need to accept there is connectivity. You will need to accept there is good quality of broadband connectivity, right? That is a new normal. So you please accept to live in the society, you need to have it, right? And now I'm seeing another interesting question coming from Balaji Raghavan. He's talking about shortened work hours. He wants to understand. He's used the German word Kurzarbeit, right? Kurzarbeit. It is shortening of work hours. So what do you feel about shortening of work hours in this situation? While you are talking about legislations which will extend the work hours, he's asking about shortening the work hours. Maybe, Ramana, you can
yeah, Ramana.
Yeah, no, I think I spoke about it. We are definitely looking at splitting the work hours into two and having, different employees at different point of time, because at the end of it, we need to make sure that we keep all of them employed. So this is something that we are looking at, shortening their work hours. One of the thought processes is that, how do we go about that?
Mm-hmm. So there is another generic question.
Vijay, Vijay, sorry to interrupt. So there is one interesting question in terms of how to keep the new hopes of new recruits who are about to join us. I think I can take that question because
from Madhukar.
Yeah.
The next question.
Take it.
Yeah, so I'll probably take that question. So Madhukar, from 22nd March till date, not even one candidate who is supposed to join us not joined us, which means we have done a virtual onboarding for all the employees. In fact, on day one, the employee gets an IT asset where his email ID and other things are configured. So we were able to have a workaround where the employee can create a virtual desktop using his personal laptop or personal phone. So all the joining dates were honored. All the employees had joined. In fact, if you connect with me offline, I can share a couple of great examples our employees have shared in terms of how the virtual onboarding experience has been. It requires a little bit of IT support, but with that, nothing changes and employees are on board. And in fact, this is the time when these employees become your long-term ambassadors, when they join us during this tough time. So it's possible. We have done it. I don't want to get into the specifics how we do it, but as he said, it's possible and we have made it happen. Back to you, Vijay.
Yep. There is a very pointed question that has come from Jawahar, right? He's asking us, tell me one key change you will implement in your organization post-COVID-19. It's probably a challenge question to us. What is one key change that you'll implement? Right. So it's a very pointed and a tough question.
Be prepared.
And maybe Naresh was telling me that tough questions have to be posed to Ramana before we started. So let me post this to Ramana.
That's a nice one. No, I was just thinking, what is it that key change? But I mean, there are quite a few things that we are going to implement, after this COVID. I mean, there's a lot of experience. I mean, we have really experimented on a lot of things which have succeeded. And I'm sure that is what is going to be the new norm or the new, because at the end of the day, I think we need to look at it totally differently now going forward, because these kind of circumstances would have never happened. Maybe a World War II could have happened or a one could have happened, but COVID has given us, a lot of things that we need to look and change. Like today, that onboarding which we were talking about, would we have ever thought that, we will virtually onboard somebody? But that is going to be the new norm. If, for instance, we don't know when the lockdown is going to be lifted. So that is like that, you have so many things that you need to kind of implement. I mean, those are, what I can think of.
Yeah. In fact, there is a follow-up question on onboarding, and I would like to pick it up. It's directed to Tilak. Somebody is asking, how do we do medical testing of people if you're doing virtual onboarding, right? Several of us have started doing this virtual onboarding and all, right? There is something called shift out. There are certain things that we've been doing for a long period of time as HR function. We need to think of what are those things that we need to stop doing. Not necessarily that do it just because you're doing as HR function, right?
Yeah.
There are multiple ways of handling. You can test them later or even shift out. You don't need to test. Why test? Why differentiate people? They let them sometimes, unless or otherwise you're in a manufacturing setup or you're in a healthcare setup where it is necessary, when they come, before they come physically, that is possible. As long as we are committed to make certain things happen, it is possible for us to shift certain activities or rather shift fast forward certain activities to a later point of time. And we can always do this. Now we are at 7:32 by my system, and we started at 6:02. I would like to stop and hand it over back to ISTD office. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for asking a lot of interesting and engaging questions. But we've not been able to take all your questions, and if we can somehow ISTD can collate those questions and send it across to us, we'll have a discussion between ourselves, and we see that we have responded to your questions as well. Back to you, sir, Mr. Shivram.
Thank you very much, who has done excellent job on the managing through crisis, and already he summed it up, so I don't want to continue the same thing, but at least I'll thank you, all of you, and all the viewers and participants who have attended for today's webinar session. And we'll have this type of sessions in the future and in coming days, and maybe for every week we'll have one. Thank you very much.
I would like to specially thank, sorry Vijay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Karen.
Thank Talentos team, and all of you have accepted and given us such a wonderful session today. And thanks to the Talentos team and supporting our webinar partner today for the session. Special thanks to all the speakers out here. Thank you so much. In spite of your hectic schedule and on a Friday evening, you have given us such an insight session.
Yeah, and please do remember that virtual memento that Venkat Ramana was talking about earlier. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Online